The Tuesday morning sun had just risen over Maple Grove when I bit into a half-eaten Pop-Tart and saw it. Her again. "Grandpa, the HOA lady's on the fence again!" From the kitchen window, I watched as Margaret Hensley, the Homeowners Association's top enforcer, hoisted one bony leg over our 6-foot backyard fence like she was auditioning for a low-budget spy movie. Her neon vest glowed, her clipboard gleamed, and I swear she'd strapped foam pads to her knees this time, probably to avoid face-planting like last week. But what burned brightest were her eyes, that crazed HOA zealot fire. She'd have swum through lava if it meant citing someone for non-regulation garden gnomes. Grandpa Walt didn't even look up from his coffee on the porch swing. "Fourth time this week. She's begging for it now." This wasn't just about the fence anymore. This was a war over lawn flamingos, solar lanterns, wind chimes that were excessively cheerful, according to Margaret, a turf war that had gotten way too personal. It started 3 months ago when Grandpa moved in to watch me, Ethan, 15 years old, mostly into gaming and avoiding adult nonsense, while my parents were working overseas. Grandpa, a retired Navy engineer with too many tools and too little patience, saw the HOA not as a community organization, but as a domestic enemy. Her first strike came in the form of a petty fine. Our mailbox apparently was an unapproved shade of teal. Next, she declared Grandpa's collection of pink flamingos a visual nuisance. But the real spark, when we caught her in our backyard, unannounced, measuring our trellises like a crime scene investigator. She claimed boundary override rights. Grandpa nearly spit out his coffee. That night, he vanished into the garage for 6 hours. We thought he was building a bird feeder. We were so wrong. Now here she was again, crawling into our yard like some HOA ninja. And it all came flooding back. Last week, she'd tripped into our koi pond chasing a non-compliant wind flag. Her soggy loafers left chlorinated footprints all the way to the sidewalk. Grandpa had laughed then. But today, he was just calm. He sipped his coffee, glanced at the porch camera feed, and smirked. He said, "Watch this." A sharp click. A sprinkler popped out of the ground, blasting Margaret mid-crawl with a jet of green-tinted water. Grandpa's homemade cocktail of food dye and peppermint oil. Good for deer repellent, and apparently HOA repellent too. She shrieked, slipped on the wet grass, and landed right in the oregano. "You're trespassing," I called from the porch, barely holding back laughter. She staggered up, water dripping off her clipboard, vest half soaked and now slightly green. Grandpa stood up and casually opened the gate. "No need to climb out. Exit's right here." She stormed off, muttering about lawsuits. At dinner, Grandpa dropped a bombshell. "We're wiring the gate tomorrow." I choked on my Sprite. "Is that even legal?" He grinned. "Only if she's dumb enough to grab it." The garage became a war room. Blueprints pinned to the wall, wires everywhere. I could have sworn I'd tested one of the sensors using a cantaloupe. For a guy who hadn't worn a uniform in decades, Grandpa looked like he was prepping for battle. One night, I asked, "Why do you hate her so much?" He didn't answer right away, just rocked back on his chair. "She thinks she owns us, sneaks into our yard, makes rules nobody voted on. People like that, they don't take freedom. They just quietly steal it." That's when it clicked. This wasn't about flamingos. This was about dignity. Then came the Gate Zapper 3000, a low-voltage deterrent wired along the side fence, triggered by a motion sensor, a hidden camera rigged inside a birdhouse for evidence collection. We set up 2 lawn chairs outside with a bag of burritos and Grandpa's old night vision goggles. "Pretty sure this is illegal," I whispered. "Only if we live stream it," he said. At 1:47 a.m., the sensor blinked red. Target acquired. Margaret appeared from the shadows in full stealth mode, black hoodie, clipboard strapped like a rifle, and "Order is Unity" printed on her back. She ducked under rose bushes, muttering to herself about unauthorized planters. She reached for the gate. Zap! A tiny spark. A yelp. Her sneaker flew off. She tumbled backward into the mulch. It was glorious. By morning, Tim from down the street had added cartoon sound effects to the footage. It went viral. TikToks, memes, Reddit threads. One had Grandpa photoshopped into an action movie poster, the Gate Admiral. But the HOA, they weren't laughing. A thick manila envelope arrived stamped urgent violation. To Walter James Carson, your electrified gate violates Maple Grove safety codes. Remove it within 24 hours or face legal action. Grandpa read it aloud in a mocking accent while frying bacon. They spelled deterrent wrong, he muttered. The next night, we spotted a red light outside my window. A drone, hovering, HOA surveillance. Grandpa squinted, smiled, and said, "Time to teach it manners." The next morning, he debuted Buster, a leaf blower modified with LEDs and a static-spewing speaker. That evening, Buster took off like a homemade fighter jet, blasting noise and light at the drone. It fled. But the next day, 3 more drones showed up. Victor Klein, the smug HOA president, was unleashed. He called an emergency meeting at the clubhouse. Fluorescent lights, stale cookies, staler tempers. Margaret sat in a neck brace with dotted Band-Aids. Victor stood at the front, hands clasped like a preacher. "Our community is under siege," he declared. "This gate incident, it's an act of anarchy." Tim whispered, "She climbed his fence." Victor raised a finger. "Effective immediately, Mr. Carson is fined $600 per day, retroactive." Gasps. My jaw hit the floor. "That's thousands of dollars!" Grandpa stood calm as ever. "I've rebuilt tanks under fire. I've seen men weep over broken radios. But I've never seen someone sneak into my yard, get zapped, and then claim victimhood." He gestured toward the projector. "You want order? Respect my property line." A slow clap started. Tim, then Mrs. Kim, then the whole room. Victor fumed. "You'll hear from our lawyers." Grandpa smiled. "I'm free Wednesdays." The HOA went nuclear. Bigger drones, more threats. Grandpa just built louder gadgets. Then the neighborhood cracked. Mrs. Kim added a flamingo to her yard. The Millers put out 4, one dressed as a pirate. Lawns erupted in pink plastic chaos. It was a full-blown flamingo rebellion. Victor issued fines, threatened arrests, tried to confiscate one, and got chased by a poodle. The community stood with us. A petition to remove Victor. HOA meetings flooded. Margaret stopped showing up. Rumor had it she'd moved to Florida. The new board apologized. They lifted the flamingo ban, disbanded drone patrols. Kids rode bikes again. People smiled. Grandpa stayed the same. Rocking chair, coffee. Watching the fence with quiet satisfaction. One day he handed me a letter. "Tech camp, scholarship, sparked by Buster." "They're lucky to have you," he said. I looked out at our yard. Wind chimes hummed. A mural had been painted on the fence. Grandpa surrounded by flamingos. Caption, "Guard your yard." The new HOA guy came by with a clipboard. Gram raised the camera remote. "Welcome to Maple Grove," he said. Buster turned toward the gate.